The heroine of this story has always hated her husband, not because he pushed her away. She didn't want him dead. She didn't even think about it. She didn't want him to be in grief. She didn't want him to suffer. Tears wiped away the inner resentment and hatred. Sadness was eating away at her flesh. Despite her sadness, her true feelings for him hadn't gone anywhere. It was a love hidden deep inside. So the love she thought was dead hadn't disappeared. It was hidden deep inside her, and she just didn't feel it. This is the story of how she came to realize those feelings. It's been 2 years since a heroine named Lily Everett met a husband named Theodore Valentino. It was not her wish. She was ordered by her father to marry Duke Valentino. Lily felt that this was unacceptable. Lily realized that her father had long ago lost his humanity. The Valentino family had protected the north of the Kingdom of Francis for centuries. For generations, the head of the family had made a contract with a powerful spirit. And yet, the pillars have been shaken by cracks that have appeared in the territory over the last 10 years, due to an unknown conflict that occurred several years ago between the past Duke and Duchess. The next head of the family, Qemee Valentino, sadly died, and the place of the head was taken by Qemee's younger brother Theodore Valentino, the only heir and continuer of the family. Because of the cracked situation, he needed support from other families, but this had consequences, in the form of complete isolation from the social world. Over time, Duke Everett wanted to have control over the Valentino family. Supposedly, Duke Everett himself had caused a rift in the Valentino family. They wanted Lily to marry someone who would be no more than a victim here. Lily's father explained that Duke Valentino had always been hard to get away from, but lately the support of other families had become impossible. Through this marriage, Valentino was to receive material support from the Everett family, and they would thus finally absorb them. He might start to rebel, but in Lily's father's opinion, he would still give in. The father ordered the girl to prepare for the wedding. He believed that Lily could help them. Hissing Everett is the second son of Duke Everett. He thought that Lily had a too attractive proposal. Lily ignored Hisson, and the boy didn't like it. Hisson was angry with Lily. The guy thought that Lily was not real. Hisson Everett believed that nothing good would come from this marriage. He added that by doing so, Lily would bring shame on the Valentino family. One of the servants tried to calm Princess Lily down. This servant had been in the palace recently. Usually servants are not so kind to Princess Lily. Lily realized that this child would soon become like the other servants. Lily's brother named Owen Everett was the heir to the Duchy of Everett. He came to Lily along with Lily's second brother named Lennon. Lily didn't call Lennon a brother, but a lord, and he didn't like it. The brothers had heard that their father wanted Lily to marry Duke Valentino. They were interested. Lily said she'd started preparing for the wedding. Owen had always been annoyed with Valentino. Owen realized that Lily would benefit from marrying Valentino. After all, that way they could control him. Lily understood that her role in this house was a tool and an asset. It had never been otherwise. She had always been told that she was a dirty girl who should be of use to them, different from what they had invested in her. A long time ago she was given the last name Everett, as the Duke needed a daughter to deal with other families. But he had problems with the government and competitors as he didn't want to spend money on useless things. So he decided to adopt a child instead of having an illegitimate one, with unique looks and silver hair. A mudblood who doesn't even know who her real father is. Lily didn't realize, could she escape this horror? Would Duke Valentino marry her? If Laga marries him and escapes this family, can she finally be happy? Unknown. Duke Everett has been using all sorts of ways to gain incredible wealth and power for years. Valentino, on the other hand, is always on the side of justice and morality. It is for this reason that the families have been at odds for a long time. Countless amounts of blood were spilled, mountains of corpses were collected. Lily thought that it was impossible for Theodore Valentino to treat her well. She was afraid of that. Despite that, there was still hope in her heart. After all, she had lived in her family for 10 years and she was constantly being blamed for something. It was unbearable for her. She endured, but she didn't give up because someone would come to her. With this hope, she lived until now. Theodore's personality was always curious to the heroine. She never met him in person because it was impossible to attend any of the parties. What kind of man was he? She had only heard of him through other people's rumors. Will he be as kind and wonderful as other people say he is? Reading this, it seems possible, but I don't have much faith. Lily Everett has to do her best. Her brother Hisson rebuked Lily for her appearance. He thought it was unacceptable and ordered her to change her clothes before leaving this house. Lily explained that she could not do so, for she was expected in the garden. Saying a sly phrase, her brother backed down and Lily smiled like a sly fox. In this situation, she came out victorious. She went out into the garden and spotted the very Duke Valentino she was to marry. The Duke was accompanied by Carmen. Their gazes crossed. Lily and Duke Valentino looked at each other. Lily became embarrassed. She didn't understand why the Duke was looking at her so intently. She thought it was because of her outfit. Valentino thought Lily was cold, so he gave her his outfit. Theodore noticed the girl's silver hair and jade eyes. He realized that the one in front of him was the same Lily Everett. Lily was worried that her dress was not suitable for the outing. Lily's brother congratulated his sister on her wedding. He believed that his and his father's plan had succeeded. As expected, her father pressured Theodore Valentino into marrying her. The current king does not have enough power to keep the aristocratic society in check. Theodore needs the support of Delacroix and Albinus, which his father controls as if they were chess pieces. Hisson understood that Duke Valentino would marry Lily for the good of the country. He felt sorry for the Duke. Hisson wasn't sure if he would obey his father. When things settled down, he would try to regain his power, and the first thing he could do would be to hurt Lily. Hisson grabbed his sister and begged her not to pretend innocence. He wanted her to plead that she didn't want to marry Valentino. The other brother entered the room and asked Hisson to leave Lily alone. Hisson didn't understand what was wrong or why his brother had come to see them. Owen stated that he had urgent business with Lily and asked Hisson to leave the room. Hisson refused to leave and asked Owen to speak in front of him. Owen then stated that he would get Hisson out of the room by force, but the man was previously reluctant, whereupon Owen threatened Hisson, and the latter was afraid of him and left the room. After the door of the room had closed, Everett was left to eat. Owen didn't expect much from Lily. He wanted her to try to ingratiate herself with Theodore Valentino. According to him, she played a key role in improving the status of the entire Everett family. Lily understood her task and embraced that she would try. Owen creepily said a few more words to Lily, and then left the room, saying goodnight to his sister. In the days of history, aristocratic marriages are a kind of contract or deal. The former Duke Valentino planned to make a marriage of convenience with the daughter of the Albinus family, but he fell in love with the Viscount's eldest daughter, Hamihan, and married her. Valentino's Qemee have financial problems, not to mention the weakness of their army, so they are forced to make such agreements. This is what makes them different from other families, since they are on the verge of extinction. Hisson thought the young lady was lucky. According to him, if Duke Valentino's financial situation wasn't collapsing as it is now, Lily wouldn't have had a chance to marry Valentino. Lily clarified to her brother that she realized it herself. Lily never asked her brother Hisson for help. She looked at his face with contempt. The heroine informed her brother that she was fed up with him, as well as her other brother Owen. She uttered words that left her brother shocked. Lily declared that she wanted to die. The next day, there was a ceremony. The father congratulated his daughter on such a beautiful event. He marveled at his daughter's beauty. Lily realized that her father was pleased that he had sold his daughter for a bargain price. Music heralded the arrival of the bride. Petals scattered to bless the young princess. A man expressed his honor and pronounced Theodore Valentino and Lily Everett husband and wife. The cloak that had been presented by Theodore became soiled. Lily thought she was the hated daughter of the Everett family. She was not angry with her husband. Everett planned to keep her husband away and not try to seduce him. When she'd seen Theodore in the garden, her heart had fluttered. But now everything was different. Everything was different. Theodore walked up to his fiancée and kissed her. Suddenly, Lily stopped Theodore. She hadn't expected things to happen on the first night. Lily stated that she had no right to stop him. She didn't mean it, which she admitted to. Theodore thought that wasn't true. Earlier, he had thought that Lily liked him. Valentino continued to kiss his bride. She had a strange feeling that was expected for her. She realized that his actions towards her were strange. Valentino didn't dare to touch his fiancée anymore. He did so that Lily's father would not get suspicious. Theodore stated to Lily that they didn't have to be in a relationship that they didn't want to be in. He understood that one should not take advantage of each other. He was determined not to be idle all this time, and once the marriage became useless, he wanted to separate from Lily. Until that day came, they would only be a couple on paper. This couple could split up at any time. Lily's failure didn't end with the imposed marriage. Maybe that feeling the moment they'd first met eyes had been the harbinger of a nightmare. A disembodied arrow had pierced her body and left an ugly burn on her soul. Lily still didn't know how to heal the mental wounds. A few days later, Lily was traveling to the Duchy of Valentino. There were ruined houses all around. Orphan children who lived on the streets, apparently. These were the first time Lily had seen these horrors with her own eyes. The Everett family was blamed for what happened. Her husband had come to the noise from the carriage. What he saw could well have tarnished the Everett family's reputation. Valentino informed them that they would reach the village soon and Lily only needed to be patient for a little while. He also asked his fiancée not to look out the window. Charlotte was with Lily. She assured Everett that everything would be fine. Lily was glad to have this woman by her side. After all, no one else on the estate wanted to go with her. Charlotte herself had asked Lily to accompany her. It was her wish. Lily informed Charlotte that if that was the case, she would have to travel this difficult journey with her. Lily regretted taking Charlotte. After all, she was worried about her. Charlotte whispered to the Duchess that Duke Valentino was always worried about her. He immediately noticed the commotion in the carriage and personally came to check on the bride's condition. Lily felt pleased after hearing this. It even brought a smile to her face. When they arrived at the Duchy of Valentino, the husband offered his hand to his bride. In this way, he shows respect to her. Lily suddenly slipped and was therefore frightened. But her husband grabbed her in time to stop her from falling. They stood together in an embrace. He cradled the young lady in his arms. She felt warm and cared for. Suddenly their lips drew closer. But their love was interrupted. Suddenly Mrs. Annabella Seymour approached the couple. This is the younger sister of Theodore's mother, Renee Valentino. Although she is over 40, she is unmarried and is looking after Theodore. The reason for her service to this family is unclear. Perhaps it was Mrs. Valentino's will, which read, "Please take care of my child." Madame welcomed the newest member of Lily's family. Lily was grateful for Mrs. Seymour's warm welcome. She hoped to get along with her. Auntie called the couple into the house. Mrs. Annabella showed Lily to her room. There was a twister in that room, and you had to pull the string in case you needed anything. From that day on, Lily found it hard to get along like the other couples. Lily didn't understand how she'd gotten to this point. Lily's mother, a maid, had spent the night with a tramp who had won her heart. Lily thought she didn't have the brains to realize that the tramp would leave her and not even tell her his name. Lily planned to live here as if she didn't exist. She didn't want to be forced to do the simplest things. As much as she was overwhelmed with emotions, she wanted to suppress those emotions within herself. It had been a few days since she'd arrived at the manor. Not once had her husband looked at her. Lily thought that Theodore hated her. Theodore approached his wife after all. He saw that Lily was not eating well. He assumed that his wife didn't like the food. He was determined to speak up just in case Lily refused to treat him in a friendly manner in the future. Theodore had no intention of being in this marriage for the rest of his life. And that was the same thing he recommended to his wife. He believed that they did not like each other. Theodore realized that after the conversation, everything was cleared up and it became easier. Charlotte approached the princess. Lily was tense because the banquet was more complicated than she had imagined. Charlotte explained that the bath was almost ready. so Lily would be able to rest while relaxing in the hot water. Lily noticed Charlotte's hands, which looked tired. Charlotte is doing multiple physical jobs. Lily felt sorry for the girl, and it could still tell that Charlotte is being bullied by other servants. Lily realized that. Charlotte explained to Lily that she was fine and ready to move on. Charlotte didn't want anyone to talk bad about Lily over something like that, so she had to bear it. Charlotte assured Lily that everything was fine. She said she couldn't be broken. Lily understood Charlotte's worries. Lily felt that this house was already full of people who hated her. Further proceedings would only make things worse. Charlotte felt guilty and asked for Lily's forgiveness. Lily didn't understand why Charlotte was being so nice to her. Lily asked Charlotte if she wanted to return to the Duchy of Everett. Charlotte doesn't understand such a question. She explains that she's happy where Duchess Lily is. In her opinion, no one is waiting for her there even if she does go back. Charlotte cried. She was in terrible pain. She is an orphan and has no one. Lily, hearing those words, realized one thing, just as she found comfort in Charlotte's presence. Just as the servants found comfort in Lily. They were like two wounded animals licking each other's wounds. Charlotte was grateful to Lily for her care. She felt warm. Charlotte explained once again that if her feelings were hurt, it wasn't a problem. The important thing was that the princess' feelings were not hurt. Lily had 2 attendants and 3 maids, her personal servants, brought to her. And then they were in the princess's room in no time. Lily turned to a servant named Laura and asked why she wasn't helping Charlotte, so Laura was neglecting her duties. Lily realized that hurting her maid was childish and humiliating. The servants apologized. They added that they were too busy to help Charlotte. Because of the deplorable state of the grounds, the servants are always busy. It's normal for them to do 2 people's work. Lily didn't take the servants' words lightly. The Duchess realized that the servants had no respect for her. Regardless of Lily's past and what family she's from, maids don't appreciate it. And the fact that Lily is currently Duchess Valentino, the mistress of this house, the servants are neglecting the trivial courtesies that should be shown to her. Suddenly, Madame Annabella approached the servants and Lily and asked them to explain themselves. Theodore told Madame everything as it was. After that, Annabella expressed her displeasure to the maids. She said that they should do their duty and not make excuses. Finally, she ordered them to do their work properly next time. Madame informed Lily that she had had a talk with the maids and so they would obey. After all, the maids obeyed Madame's orders without censure, so there should not have been any more problems from them. In this way, Madame Annabella wanted to show that she had more power in this house, unlike Duchess Lily. Lily expressed concern about Charlotte's servants. She wanted other maids to help her. Madame felt that the wedding had come at such a difficult time, as if Lily couldn't get used to the new place. Lily explained that she was trying. Madame was happy to have met Lily because she had something planned for her. The madam then suggested that Lily walk together and explore the area. Lily thought that this woman wanted to humiliate her in this way. The Duchess was fed up with it. Her head was boiling. She wanted to give up, and she didn't want to get used to this torture. Everything was pissing her off. She had so many words in her head. She closed her eyes and thought about it for a while, and she suppressed all those thoughts. And then, with a smile on her face, she asked Madame for time to get ready for the walk. That was it. They walked between the houses, saw the emaciated people. As expected, all tragic. The biggest problem was the lack of food. Lily wore the simplest dress that was silk. It wasn't just luxurious. It offended the locals. Everett brought food to the villagers, expecting them to be grateful to her. But all she got in return were insults. That's something the Duchess didn't expect. They thought she was a witch. One of the villagers was knocked to the ground, for he was intent on attacking Lily. He shouted that he intended to kill the Duchess. He believed that all the trouble was because of her, her father, and her brothers. Everyone had a grudge against Lily, and she didn't do anything but give them food. All because she was the daughter of Duke Everett, and he wasn't even her real father. But she saw what they were trying to tell her. They wanted to tell her that no one here supports you. We all hate you. Toward evening, Lily felt awful. Charlotte noticed that the Duchess wasn't feeling well and began to worry about her. The servants noticed that Lily was skipping meals and generally not eating well. She was worried about her master. In return, Lily promised to start eating normally from tomorrow. Lily felt sorry for the woman. A servant's fate is hard. The Duchess realized that even if she volunteered to help the servants, it would only be an insult and hypocrisy. But at the same time, she could not do nothing. She decided that she would find a different and proper way. Everett decided to sell all the jewelry she had brought with her after the wedding. Her father had given it to her as a wedding present. She doubted her father cared how she disposed of them. In her opinion, he only gave them as a gift for the sake of the family's reputation. That valuable jewelry must be worth a lot of gold. Normally, Lily would have given the money to the authorities running the lands, but this time she'll put it to good and useful use. People can, of course, say that Lily doesn't know her place and is being hypocritical. Plus, if she decides to sell all the jewelry a week after the wedding, it might seem like she's humiliating and not appreciating the Duke. After all, it's the only way to use the money wisely. Her brother Owen gave her this magical piece of jewelry for Lily to use if she ever needed to secretly find out anything about the Valentino family. According to Owen, this magic jewelry allows you to change your appearance to whatever you think it is. Lily never thought her brother's items would prove so useful. With them, Lily could transform into a servant or a knight to distribute food. She planned to buy food with the money from the jewelry she sold. She realized that her plan was a good one, and she was happy about it. After she sold the jewelry, some time later, sitting at the table with her husband, he confronted her about it. But how did he know? Well, the Duke was told by the merchant who bought the jewelry from the Duchess, although Lily had paid the merchant not to tell him she'd sold the jewelry before she bought it. He just set her up. Lily told her husband that this way she wanted to buy new jewelry to replace her old jewelry, but her husband thought that was nonsense. He didn't think they should sell jewelry for money. He understood that they were having financial problems, but Valentino's home was the Duchy of the North. Valentino added that they could buy jewelry with the money Lily had set aside for self-care, and that money would be enough. Lily apologized for her act, and she added that she would be more careful from now on. The Duchess noticed that her husband was particularly pale today. She had heard that he appeared not to be very compatible with the spirit he had made a pact with. She speculated that this might be the case. With that, they ended their conversation, and the Duke went to rest. And Lily kept thinking a lot. She realized that the decision to sell the jewelry was a way to cope with the shock of seeing the state of the land, which confirmed that she was a daughter of the Everett family. Late that night, Lily couldn't sleep, so she decided to go for a walk and get some fresh air. She decided to go quietly, so as not to wake Charlotte, who was nearby and sleeping soundly. As she walked outside, she noticed her husband. She didn't understand what Theodore was doing here late at night. Theodore's head was up, reaching for the heavens. Theodore was calling for his brother. He wanted his brother by his side. Suddenly, Theodore felt the presence of someone nearby. He noticed his wife. There were tears in his eyes. Theodore turned to Lily and asked her why she was in the garden at night. Lily explained that she was just out for a walk. Theodore didn't believe the girl. He believed that she was out for a walk and to follow him. Lily tried to prove otherwise. The couple did not understand how, but found themselves in each other's arms. Theodore still insisted on his own way. He did not believe his wife, since she went out for a walk even without her maid. That was why he had formed such suspicions. After which Theodore asked Lily to follow him. After they entered the room, Theodore asked the Duchess not to take any more walks at such a late hour. Lily realized that there was no way Valentino would be worried about her. Lily wanted to say some very important words to Theodore afterward, but she couldn't. She only wished him good night and left. She wanted to talk to herself some more. Lily still couldn't sleep, because she saw her husband in a bad state. Charlotte woke the princess up in the morning because it was time for breakfast. The first thing Lily did was to wash her face, and for breakfast she asked for fruit. After a while, a beautiful dish was already served. Lily promised to start eating well, but in the end she never finished the fruit. Lily asked Charlotte to get the merchant. She planned to buy something, but to actually sell. The Duchess lied about wanting to buy new jewelry, so she needed to act believable. The maid who served the Duchess was very calm. Her name is Jenna. Lily suspected that Gina hated her. However, Lena was also aware of the fact that most people here don't like her. She's like a ship at sea against the waves. Lily planned to tell the salesman about why he didn't keep his promise and confess to Theodore what he had done, but she didn't dare. She realized that the merchant hadn't planned to keep it a secret either. A discerning person would realize she was only a puppet, but she could take revenge in many ways. The merchant provided a necklace that was the color of a green apple, Perida. Lily understood that it would suit her very well since she had the same eye color. However, she declared that she didn't like it. And then Theodore walked into the room. He was determined to buy the necklace. The merchant was frightened when he saw the Duke. Theodore asked to keep the necklace and the merchant left the palace. Theodore remembered that Lady Everett found this necklace unsatisfactory. Nevertheless, he asked his wife to wear this necklace. The Duke stated that it was his immodest gift personally for the beautiful lady. He did not want to be accused of neglecting his daughter Everett. Lily thought it was reasonable, considering that the Duke thought she was Duke Everett's daughter. The Duchess wondered how he would react if he found out she was an illegitimate daughter with not a drop of Everett blood flowing in her. Besides, she wasn't even from a noble family. The lady suspected Theodore would despise her for that reason. Very romantically, the Duke helped his wife put on a new necklace. Madame Seymour wanted to see Lady Lily. She wanted to confess something. Madame confessed that the day after tomorrow was the anniversary of her brother Theodore's death. The brother's name was Camellia. Lily began to realize the reason why her husband was crying. It happened when Camel was only 20. Theodore was younger. Madame's brother-in-law and sister had died in a sudden crack, and so did Camille. They showed respect for their sister and brother-in-law. Seymour didn't understand why they died so young. There was much she couldn't yet comprehend, including Camille's death. Lily realized that Madame suspected that the Everetts had something to do with these deaths. If the Everetts were behind these deaths, it would mean that they had long been able to control the cracks. Lily had never heard that such a thing was possible. However, she supposed her father might have found a way, and his guilt might be present. Madame spoke of Theodore's brother. Camille was a fine child. He was good-natured, considerate, and everybody loved him. And he loved Theodore very much. When Camille died, Theodore almost went mad. And on every anniversary, Theodore still suffers. There will be a memorial service the day after tomorrow. Normally it was up to the lady of the house to plan the budget, schedule, and attendees, but since Lily had recently arrived, Madame said she would do the job alone. Seymour didn't want anyone to make any mistakes, as this was a very important event. That night the Duchess wanted very much to comfort her husband, though she felt it was none of her business, and on every anniversary, Theodore still suffers. It was a warning. Madame wanted to say that even if she saw Theodore suffering, there was no need to disturb him. Lily realized that she needed to remember her place. It's hard for her to act differently when she sees Theodore suffering. But why? If Lily saw Owen Hisson or Lennon suffering, she would easily ignore it. It's the same with Madame Seymour and everyone else. Charlotte is the exception to the list. Charlotte was special in Lady Everett's opinion. And her husband? Just as special? Lily thought about it too much, so she forced herself to stop thinking. Lily felt that she would rather divorce than have feelings of regret. She wanted to shut her feelings away, close them off so they couldn't get out. Then she wouldn't want to comfort Theodore anymore. Everett imagined she had a box inside her. In it she wanted to put things she would be afraid to name. They wouldn't be her emotions. Lily believed that if she named those emotions and started talking, she would become unhappy. Lily felt sorry for Camille. She thought that heaven was cruel. After all, good people like Camille and Theodore should live happily ever after. The lady was at the event. It was raining. Suddenly someone approached her from behind. It was her husband who gave her an umbrella because the girl was standing right in the rain and could catch cold. When Theo and Lily entered the room, they saw a girl. This girl was very happy to see Theo. This girl's name is Adeline Albinus. She is the daughter of Duke Albinus. Lily had heard a lot about this girl earlier. Albany stated that she has been friends with the Duke a lot since she was a little girl. In her opinion, they are so close that they don't have any secrets from each other. There was once talk of Adeline Albinus getting married to Theodore, but it was said to have been cancelled because the Duke of Albinus was adamantly opposed. Lily suspected that when she divorced Theo would marry this girl. Lily was flying in her thoughts and didn't even see or hear what was going on around her. Suddenly Albinus called out to her. The mistress did not react in any way. Adeline noticed that the Duchess had turned pale and looked quite ill. The Duchess asked to be left alone, saying she had her own business to attend to. The Duke didn't understand what was happening to his wife. Lily wondered if she had stolen Adeline's place. Her inner self told her that Adeline could comfort Theodore, but Lily could not. She asked her inner thoughts to leave. She was having an insanely hard time. These thoughts were driving her crazy. Charlotte suggested that Lily go to bed early. The maid wanted to light lavender incense to help her sleep better. Lily asked her to light them, because the girl hadn't slept at all tonight. She was dreaming again. She realized that what was happening was not real. She saw Theodore looking at her with loving eyes. Lily asked him not to come any closer. Valentino didn't understand why the girl was reacting this way. Lily didn't understand why she was dreaming about her husband. She forced herself to wake up. Opening her eyes, she began to cry, even though she realized it was a dream and it didn't mean anything, but she was hurt. Suddenly, Theodore came into her room. Lily told her husband he was in the wrong room. The Duke fell silently to the floor. Then the Duchess decided to help her husband sit down. Lily didn't know what to do next. The mistress thought of calling a servant or Charlotte. The Duke felt like he was going crazy. He didn't understand why he had come to his wife's room in the middle of the night. Lily felt very sorry for the man. She tried to suppress these feelings in herself, but for some strange reason she felt that every time she saw him, she began to cry. Her heart would burst out of her chest and ache. She wished it would stop. From the minute she'd seen the Duke at Everett Castle, she felt herself drowning in love for him, because she knew she would break her heart and remain unhappy. She wanted to expect nothing from the Duke, and she didn't even know what to offer him in return. She felt scared that the Duke was special to her. She didn't think it would be so hard to tolerate it. Lily, for some reason, thought that the Duke was incapable of reciprocating her, and she realized that she didn't want to expect him to. But regardless, she couldn't help but wish this moment would last forever. They had grown closer. She felt warm. She felt needed. Theodore fell asleep in his wife's arms and slept through the morning. In the morning, he regretted what he'd done. He rushed away from the Duchess. He declared that he had been lost in thought only for a moment. He apologized to the girl for his mistake and promised it would never happen again. Then he ran out of her room, but Lily grabbed his arm. She asked him not to leave. Everett confessed to her husband that she was in fact even Duke Everett's illegitimate daughter. She added that she didn't have a drop of Everett blood in her and asked him to do what he wanted. Theodore thought it was her cunning plan, along with her father. The girl didn't expect such a thing. Theodore asked Lily not to play dumb. According to his words, she and her father, along with her brothers, told Lily to seduce him. Lily felt uncomfortable. Theodore asked her not to make excuses and said that he had previously guessed the plan. Lily tried to explain herself, but Theodore wouldn't listen to his wife. According to him, Lily was just pretending. He wondered what it would be like to seduce a man she didn't love. Lily explained that she wasn't trying to seduce him. She never had. Valentino didn't think it was convincing at all. Nevertheless, he said he would do anything for her, and he kissed her. Then the Duke asked a terrible question. He wanted to know what it was like to kiss a man he didn't love. He hoped Lily was capable of more than that, to obediently warm his bed at night. After that, the Duchess couldn't take it anymore and slapped him. Lily, with her eyes wide open, explained to her husband that he knew nothing about her. Theodore thought that Lady Everett would never want to touch him. Still, before he left, he apologized for his false judgment. Lady Lily stood weeping. Those horrible thoughts came back to her. She wanted to be a monster like her father who loves no one. She didn't understand why she was being punished in such a way. Since then, Theodore had grown even colder and more distant. She'd ask Theodore for a moment of his time, and he'd say he didn't have time for her. You see, he's busy. Theodore asked her not to waste his time. Lily tried to prove a point. She said she wasn't like her father and her brothers, and added that she didn't want this marriage. So she didn't get married because she wanted to hurt Valentino's family. In this way, she only agreed because of her father's pressure. She wanted to help Theodore and the Valentino family. Theodore asked to deceive him in a more believable way. He didn't believe her words, although he thought the girl's facial expression was believable enough. Back then, Theodore would often go to the front to patch up the cracks that often appeared in the area. It usually lasted from 3 days to a month or 2. He was so busy. Therefore, it was difficult to talk to him. At the same time, thoughts of escape took root in Lily's mind. As a result, Lady Everett was excluded from all family events and discussions of domestic matters. Lady Seymour desperately ignored her bullying by the servants, but she took no offense, because the only one who could offend her was always Theodore. Earlier she had tried a lot of contact with him. Theodore was cold towards Lily. She attended parties alone. Lily confessed that she was growing a greenhouse in the garden and planned to distribute medicinal herbs to the villagers. The Duke thought his wife was doing useless things. He thought she wasn't Duchess Valentino, just Lily Everett. Then Lily realized that Theodore Valentino would never protect her. Once again, he reminded her that she was just Lily Everett. He believed that he had saved her and therefore she belonged to him for the rest of her life. Many held their breath waiting for Lily's divorce from Duke Valentino. When Owen hinted that he wanted to make her his second wife or mistress, he only paid attention to wealth and power. What Lily didn't know was that so many people didn't mind eating the scraps, because they only wanted the shell, not the soul. In their opinion, she should be an empty doll, beautiful and silent. Valentino married Lady Everett to protect his family and lands. It was a marriage neither of them wanted. But Lily's failures didn't end there. Her heart fell in love with the man who hated her and her family more than anything else in the world. Lily thought she had entertained hope in vain. She thought she deserved to be punished like that. But still, she wanted to try to get rid of it all in the name of bitter torment. One day, a year and a half later, a year and a half from now, Theodore didn't look the same. He had suffered a serious head injury. He had been bleeding heavily when he was brought in, but now his condition had stabilized. His lordship was recovering unusually fast. When Lily heard about her husband being seriously injured while he was closing a crack in the battlefield, she was truly frightened. Lily thought that these worries were unfounded. She thought he was tough. After that, she decided to leave. Madame insisted that Lily stay a little longer with her husband. But Lily thought Theodore would benefit from not seeing her. Theodore stared at Lady Everett in silence. The Duke suddenly uttered an interesting question. He wanted to know what kind of girl stood before him. Lady Everett was shocked. She thought she had heard it, or that she had gone completely insane. Lily confessed to Theodore that she was his wife. Theodore was shocked by this news. He didn't even know he was married. Theodore lost his memory. He didn't even remember that he had been married for over a year. That's all he couldn't remember. Fortunately, he remembered the important stuff. I think Theo has partial amnesia. We'll have to wait and see if his memory comes back. Theodore was kind to Lily. He called her to him very politely. He wanted to know what her name was. Even this information the Duke had forgotten. After Lily said her name, he said that it was a beautiful name. Also, after Everett said her last name, the Duke remembered her silver hair, peridot-colored eyes. But still, he really didn't remember anything. Then the Duke wondered what his life with her had been like. Lily explained that she couldn't tell him anything, and added that he could get that information from someone else. That way he would have an idea of who she was and how to treat her. Lily wanted to leave, but the Duke insisted she stay and tell it like it was. But she couldn't. The Duke realized he had hurt her in some way, and he wanted to know more about it. He wanted to know how they'd gotten married. But Lily repeated herself. She was ashamed, and she didn't want to explain it to herself. After that, she just ran away. I felt sorry for her. You can understand that girl. As I was told in the comments, the fate of this girl is very difficult. Belittled by siblings, disrespect from servants marked by tarnished family, names strong-armed into marriage of convenience, and so much more. The next day, Lily wanted to visit His Majesty. Charlotte came to inform the Duke. He immediately gave up reading his book. He recalled being told that he had previously made the decision to marry the Duchess for the reason of keeping his home and his country. It had been something of a bargain with the Everett family. A year and a half was both a lot and a little at the same time. The Duke vaguely remembered visiting the Everett estate 2 years ago. He had definitely met someone, but he couldn't remember exactly. Why had all memories of her vanished without a trace? That was the question. It was all for a reason, just like in life. The Duke asked his maid Charlotte to take him to the Duchess. But she wasn't there. She'd gone out for a while. The Duke realized that Lily wouldn't go alone, and she was accompanied by someone. The servant reported that Lily had gone out alone. To be honest, this sort of thing happened more than once. She often went out alone, and no one but Charlotte accompanied her. The Duke was angry because the servants let the Duchess go unaccompanied. Charlotte looked at the maid who stayed with Lily and decided that the maid knew something but wouldn't admit it. Charlotte remembered that earlier Lily had liked to walk by the river, but where the Duchess was now, Charlotte did not know. Valentino realized that Lily had secrets of her own. Wherever she was now, the Duke was determined to find his bride. The Duke entered the room without the Duchess' permission. Such an action Charlotte did not approve and began to worry. The Duke found the Duchess's box. He happened to find a picture the Duchess had painted. Theodore Valentino always does as he pleases, and he's kind to his people. But the Duchess is an exception. It was always like this. It's as if he was doing it by force. Charlotte noticed that. The Duke found a jar of medicine. He didn't know what it was and decided to ask his wife's maid. The Duke's intentions were serious. Charlotte knew she mustn't tell the Duke, or there would be trouble. The grounds of Verona's manor. Lily was handing out food to the villagers. Lily had some potatoes, so she decided to give them all to the villagers. They were insanely grateful to this lady. They thought she was kind as she traveled a long way to distribute the food. Lately, living in the village has become easier. Cracks no longer appear every other day. One child was constantly afraid of being attacked by monsters in their sleep. And for that, they were grateful to the Lord. Every day, their master's power grew, so the cracks and monsters didn't stand a chance. To be exact, Serafina had made a pact with Theodore's older brother. But in the end, it was in Theodore that she recognized her new lord, so his power began to stabilize. Now he was able to handle the cracks. The Valentino house no longer needed the help of the Everett family, and the Valentinos were regaining their former power. Lily realized that the Duke would soon decide to divorce her. He didn't remember much. The situation had changed. Meanwhile, the villagers thanked Miss for her kindness. In the evening, Lily was determined to bring fruit to the village. In truth, none of the villagers had any idea that this woman was a duchess named Lily Everett. Suddenly, screams were heard, and a familiar voice was heard telling them to get out of the way. This man was humiliating the residents. And it was Hisson, Lily's brother. Lily was confused. She didn't understand how her brother was here. He usually sent people to spy on Verona's manor, but he had never been violent. This was about some resident insulting the Everett family, and that's all Hisson heard. There was a slight change in tone in the way Verona's manor insulted Everett. It used to be pure hatred, but lately many only mock Everett. Hisson has a fiery temper, so he couldn't turn a blind eye to the insults. Hisson was giving these residents a choice. He threatened them with violence. The residents did not respect this man. They said he had no right to decide what he could do, and they added that only their lord could do that. There was also the fact that even the dog knew that the Everett house was an evil den. The residents recognized the man. They understood that he was a man of the Everett family. Hisson was misunderstood. He believed that he was already known to everyone for his silver hair. He once again threatened these people who were trembling with fear and couldn't utter a single word. Lily couldn't just stand by and watch the humiliation of ordinary people. She wanted to do something about it. She approached Hisson, and he turned his attention to her. Lily introduced herself as Lee and stated that she was a servant of the House of Valentino. She apologized for getting in his way. Let's just say she showed respect. Lily apologized for the residents. She added that these people lacked education, plus they have been traumatized by the attacks of magical creatures for the past 18 months, so they are not in their right mind. Also, they have lost their minds and because of their heartache and don't think what they say. Lily hoped that Hisson had enough nobility in his heart to show these people mercy and forgive them. Hisson declared that Lee was too bold as for a maid, for she had fine manners that are only found in the palace. Hisson laughed. He had figured it all out. He leaned over to Lily and asked why she was doing this. He recognized the man as his sister. He figured it was her new hobby. Hisson dragged his sister around the corner to get to the bottom of the situation. Hisson stated that Lily's shell was ugly and asked her to return to her former appearance. That's what Lily did. Hisson didn't understand why the Duchess was walking around in the guise of a maid. Lily explained that she had important business here. Hisson thought that this was Lily's way of marrying some scoundrel. Lily had a right to decide for herself. After all, Hisson hasn't been nice to her whole life, and now he's so worried about her. Suddenly they saw Theodore on horseback. The Duke was determined to deal with the situation. Valentino asked him to tell him only the truth. Hisson didn't understand since when did Duke Valentino care about Lily and called her a bad word. The Duke didn't understand why Hisson was insulting his sister. Hisson thought the Duke was faking it, saying he hit his head and forgot everything. He reminded the Duke that he had only seen Valentino despise Lily before. Now he was suddenly treating her as if she were a jewel. The Duke suddenly wondered if it was all an act. Lily knew it would be hard for her to answer. If it was revealed that he had lost his memory, nothing good would come of it. Father and Owen are the kind of people who would start acting against the Duke. Lily ordered her little brother not to joke or express himself in such a manner. Miss explained it to the Duke that Hisson was just joking, and there was nothing serious in his words. The Duke didn't understand why the girl reacted to being dragged and controlled by Hisson as if she were some kind of criminal. He thought it was unacceptable. It seemed to Lily that the Duke was acting very strangely. This was not the man she knew. She suddenly wondered, would he be so upset if he were the same? Wouldn't he have turned a blind eye to the fact that Hisson wanted to take her away? In fact, she thought, the Duke wouldn't have even looked for her. Lily felt she had no choice but to act. So she did something secret. It was unpredictable. She couldn't breathe. She felt like she was slowly drowning. Charlotte sat beside the Duchess and tried to bring her to her senses. Lily needed to breathe slowly. Lily realized that her plan was working. She was glad she was rid of Hisson. Lily had a cunning plan. She pretended to pass out. All for one thing. The Duke came to see Lily to check on her condition. He was worried sick about her. He was frightened when she suddenly stopped breathing. The doctor said he had to continue to monitor her health, so he couldn't miss his appointments. Lily didn't understand where Hisson had gone. The Duke explained that he had most likely returned to his residence in Salisbury. The Duke had made sure he was not in Veronis. To Lily, this act of Hisson's was strange. Hisson is very proud to be a member of the Everett family, so by his actions he shows his loyalty to the family. He hasn't opened his business and only has a couple nights walking with him. Then why would Hisson have private property? He's obviously up to something, and he hasn't told Lily. Lily explained to Valentino that she wasn't worried about Hisson. According to her, he's always been violent. It was his nature. The Duke clarified that if Lily wanted him around, he could stay. But Lily explained that she didn't want him to, absolutely not. The Duke was confused, and in a friend, Lily realized she'd made a mistake, and immediately tried to rectify the situation by saying that she wanted to rest alone. According to her, she was uncomfortable having someone around. The Duke realized that this was unnecessary and asked the Duchess for forgiveness. Valentino asked Lily to address him as you next time instead of using respectful words. After Valentino left to rest, Charlotte said she was very worried about her while she was unconscious. She added that her heart had almost stopped for that reason. Lily clarified that it had been her plan. It was what she'd been trying to accomplish. Charlotte was puzzled, and she asked Mistress to never do that again, never under any circumstances. Lily had promised that. Charlotte brought the warm soup, which should have cooled down enough by now to eat. Lily meanwhile remembered the words of Valentino, who in a past life had forbidden Lily to call him by his first name. Now he was asking for the opposite.